This evening, the Ghana Medical Council issued a warning regarding an imposter among its ranks. Minibus driver killed in Good Hope accident yesterday was charged with dangerous driving in 2018. Over 200 million national breakfast program officially launched in London. In the region, shark kills US tourists snorkeling in the Bahamas, and internationally, protests in Indonesia as anger grows over fuel price hike. Welcome to another broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Updates. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. The Ghana Medical Council has issued a warning about an imposter in its fraternity and appealed to the public to be on high alert. Kavita Singh, also known as Nanda Kissoon, has been posing as a medical doctor when she is not. She is said to have a history of scamming countless people out of thousands of dollars. Kissoon intermittently runs fake medical schools under different names and continues to scam unsuspecting individuals. In 2014, students who had attended her school found out after graduating that the certificates they received could not land them any jobs in the medical field. In 2016, students were scammed out of about $95,000 each, the monthly fee they were required to pay. The parents of the students she conned into enrolling in her school assembled at the Lamaha Street's Georgetown building, where they requested their money back. Kissoon attempted to lock the students in the building, but most of them were able to leave. However, 2 students were locked inside the building. The police had to be called in to rescue those students, and Kissoon was arrested. Members of the medical fraternity suspected that Kissoon was an imposter. There are reports that she was seen attending patients at medical outreaches. Efforts were made to ascertain her medical background, and subsequently, findings prove she had none. The Ghana Medical Council has issued an advertisement informing members of the public that Kavita Singh is not certified to conduct any medical activities in Guyana. The Ghana Police Force continues to investigate the fatal accident involving a minibus that claimed the lives of 2 persons at the Good Hope Public Road on the east coast of the Marara on Tuesday, September 6. The dead persons have been identified as 38-year-old minibus driver Andrew Albert of Lamaha Park, Georgetown, and 38-year-old passenger Annalisa Lacan of Gopi Street, Buxton North, east coast of Marara. Enquiries disclosed that the minibus driven by Albert was proceeding along the southern driving lane of the northern carriageway of the public road. A motor pickup driven by Michael Lovell of Good Intent Village, West Bank de Marara, was proceeding in the same lane in front of the minibus. Albert attempted to overtake the motor pickup but subsequently collided with it. He then lost control and the bus toppled, colliding with the pickup and a horse cart. The minibus also collided with the rear of a motor car before coming to a halt. As a result of the collision, several passengers in the minibus received injuries and were taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation to seek medical attention. Albert and Lacan were pronounced dead at the scene. The bodies were then escorted to the GPHC mortuary and it's awaiting post-mortem examination. The driver of the motor pickup is in custody assisting with the investigations. However, in 2018, Andrew Albert was charged with dangerous driving and released on $100,000 bail after he allegedly struck down an 8-year-old Matthew Zaman along the east coast of the Marara Public Road. The child was left bedridden after the accident. Last evening, the APNU, AFC, and WPA joined with the Henry family, supporters, and friends in commemorating the 2nd death anniversary of the Henry boys, Joel and Isaiah, who were brutally murdered on September 6, 2020 in the backlands of Cotton Tree, West Coast, Berbice. The commemoration program started with a motorcade from Belgium Bridge, West Coast, Berbice, to a number 5 village in Region 5, where a ceremony was held. Speaking at the ceremony were Aubrey Norton, leader of the opposition, relatives and grandmother of the deceased, and attorney-at-law Nigel Hughes. The main theme of the speakers was the call for justice for the Henry boys. A monument in honor of the 2 cousins, Joel and Isaiah Henry, is currently under construction in number 5 village, West Coast, Berbice. Stick around after the break. Over $200 million national breakfast program officially launched in London, and unidentified remains discovered in Yarrow Cabra suspected to be those of a welder.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Welcome back. On Tuesday, the Minister of Education Priya Manik-Chand officially launched the $267 million National Breakfast Program in Linden Region 10 at the Mackenzie Primary School. The initiative forms part of the National Feeding Program, which totals $2 billion. The program will ensure that all students at the grade 6 level receive a warm and nutritious breakfast every day. The program aims to ensure that children in all regions have sufficient nourishment to promote learning and ease the financial burdens on parents. The breakfast program will also generate employment within the community. Single mothers looking for a way to earn an income will be given the opportunity to supply meals to the primary schools throughout Linden. The minister also urged those individuals to maintain a standard in the presentation and distribution of the meals. The initiative also forms part of the government's plan to expand the national feeding program in all primary schools across Guyana. Students in the hinterland were the first to benefit. Approximately 956 students in 29 primary schools in Linden Region 10 will benefit from this initiative. In the coming weeks, the primary schools in all coastal regions will become beneficiaries. Members of the public living in and beyond the Grove Diamond area, and particularly those persons who may need to get to the airport for a flight, are being advised to make alternative arrangements or to do so earlier, as the paving and milling of the Grove Diamond section of the East Bank Highway will begin at 9 o'clock tonight. The roadworks began on Saturday after Minister of Public Works Bishop Juan Edgehill intervened to ease traffic congestion in the Diamond Grove area by dispatching a work team to widen the road to facilitate a slip lane that will improve traffic efficiency along that section of the East Bank Highway. Works have been ongoing throughout the night since Saturday. With regards to tonight's paving and milling in the Grove Diamond area, the minister is urging persons to adhere to all traffic advisories, signs, and directions as the team works diligently to complete their task. The Ministry of Public Works expresses their regards for the inconvenience caused to persons using the East Bank Highway. The family of 47-year-old Mark Melville believes that the burnt remains of a human found at Yarrow Cabra on the Susac-Linden Highway are that of the missing man. Mark, a 47-year-old welder of Parfait Harmony, West Bank Demerara, went missing on August 28. His mother, Avira Melville, told the newsroom that the key and knife the police found at the scene belonged to her son. Melville said her son, a father of 8, was reported as missing after several calls his phone went unanswered and he did not return home. Investigators believe that the person was killed elsewhere before the body was taken to the location and burnt. A pair of black and gold white sneakers were found attached to the right leg bone, while part of the skull appeared to have a chop wound. According to a police report, the remains of the unidentified male were discovered along the Susac-Linden Highway at Yarrow Cabra on Sunday, September 4th. Discovered along with the child remains were a pair of sneakers, a watch, a USB charging cord, a knife blade, 2 screwdrivers, and a bunch of keys. Further searches conducted in the area unearthed bone fragments along with 2 Barbadian $1 coins, a piece of leather belt, and a piece of blue denim jeans. The remains were escorted to the Memorial Gardens Funeral Home as further lab tests were to be conducted. The police have since informed the family of Melville that they must await the results of a DNA test. Don't go away after the break. Chile's Boric reshuffles cabinet after new constitution rejected, and Liz Truss makes first speech as UK's Prime Minister after meeting the Queen.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold, and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. A bull shark attacked and killed a U.S. cruise ship passenger who was snorkeling in waters around Bahamas on Tuesday, according to authorities. The incident involved a 58-year-old woman from Pennsylvania and occurred near Green Cay in the northern Bahamas, according to police spokesman Chief Superintendent Christine Skippering. The passenger died after arriving at a local hospital for treatment, according to Royal Caribbean International, and the company is assisting their loved ones. The Bahamas has had the most shark attacks in the Caribbean, with 2 reported in 2019, 1 fatal. That instance involved a Southern California woman on vacation who was attacked by 3 sharks at Rose Island, which is about half a mile away from Tuesday's attack. Since 1749, there have been at least 32 shark attacks reported in the Bahamas, followed by 13 incidents in Cuba. Shark attacks, however, are still uncommon. According to the International Shark Attack File, there were 137 shark attacks worldwide last year, with 73 of them being unprovoked. In South America, left-wing Chilean President Gabriel Boric has announced a cabinet reshuffle, incorporating members of the traditional center-left, just days after the constitutional referendum he had championed faced a crushing defeat. Al Jazeera's Lucy Newman reports.
There's a saying that you don't really know you're in charge until you have to fire people you care for. In the wake of Sunday's constitutional referendum defeat, President Gabriel Boric had to do just that.
Cabinet changes have always been dramatic in Chile, and this one has its fair share. It's been painful, but necessary, and I won't hide it. I think that this is one of the hardest political moments I've ever faced.
Interior Minister Isquia Siches was replaced by Carolina Toa, the daughter of an emblematic interior minister under former President Salvador Allende, who was overthrown in the 1973 military coup. More difficult still was the removal of Cabinet Minister Giorgio Jackson, Boric's confidant and right-hand man. Together they began fighting to transform Chile as student leaders in 2011, forming a new generation of politicians. Later, they were inseparable as congressional allies. Now Jackson, who was unable to work well with Congress, has been moved to a less significant ministry. He's been replaced by former President Michelle Bachelet's ex-cabinet chief, Analía Uriarte. The cabinet shake-up incorporates a political generation that the left-wing millennial president had once dismissed as history.
This is the equivalent of when you move out of your house, because you are a grown-up now and you're going to have your own life, and 6 months later you have to bring in your dad, your mom, and your siblings because you cannot live on your own.
Near the presidential palace, university students protested throughout the day against the defeat of the draft constitution supported by Boric. It would have introduced progressive structural reforms, but for the majority of voters, it went too far.
It is obvious that the president had to get the message from this electoral defeat and has taken note by incorporating people from other generations who weren't formed in student protests.
The ceremony here at the presidential palace was delayed 90 minutes because of an uproar over the choice of Undersecretary of the Interior, who had to be changed at the very last minute. The embarrassing reshuffling of the cabinet reshuffle underscores why President Boric was forced to turn to older, more experienced politicians. Boric acknowledged very hard times ahead, but insisted that with the help of these more traditional social democratic cabinet members, he'll forge ahead with his ambitious program of social reforms. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Santiago.
Internationally, thousands of protesters have rallied in Indonesia's biggest cities, seeking to pile pressure on the government to reverse the country's first subsidized fuel price hike in 8 years amid soaring inflation. Al Jazeera's Jessica Washington reports.
From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Sarwoko rides through the streets of the Indonesian capital. He became a motorbike taxi driver after losing his job at an exhibition center during the pandemic. He is one of millions of people battling to make ends meet after the government cut fuel subsidies.
The money I make is already not enough. Often, I don't eat lunch just so I can send the money on my children's need.
This week, fuel prices went up by about 30%, with subsidized petrol increasing from around 51 cents to 67 cents per litre, and diesel going up from 35 to 46 cents per litre. Soaring global oil and gas prices, as well as the depreciation of the local currency, tripled the state's subsidy budget to $34 billion. The government says it's reallocating some funds to social grants, with 20 million low-income households set to receive around $10 a month until the end of the year. For many, it's an inadequate solution.
The cash aid is like candy, totally useless. We want them to lower the price of fuel.
Unions and students have led protests in several cities.
Around the country, the message is clear. Many people are worried about stagnant wages and the rising cost of living, and those concerns have been exacerbated by this latest policy change.
Some economists are also critical of the decision.
All of the society, all of the consumers level hit by the increase of the fuel price. And at the same time, the minimum wage in Indonesia is only increased by 1%. So inflation versus the income of the ordinary citizen in Indonesia is not catch up.
Higher fuel costs have a knock-on effect. Essential goods become more expensive because logistics expenses increase. A worrying prospect for Arti, who is already skipping meals.
Before the price hike, life was already hard. Now it's even more difficult.
He spends an extra $1.50 on fuel every day. It's an expense that he, like millions of Indonesians, cannot afford. Jessica Washington, Al Jazeera, Jakarta.
And finally, Liz Truss has become Britain's next Prime Minister after a meeting with Queen Elizabeth II, who asked her to form a new government. Truss said she would focus on 3 priorities: the economy, the energy crisis facing the country, and improving the national health services. Al Jazeera's Nadeem Babar reports.
As Liz Truss took her first steps in Downing Street as Prime Minister, her focus was on reassuring the nation things can get better.
We now face severe global headwinds caused by Russia's appalling war in Ukraine and the aftermath of COVID. Now is the time to tackle the issues that are holding Britain back. We need to build roads, homes and broadband faster. We need more investment and great jobs in every town and city across our country. We need to reduce the burden on families and help people get on in life.
Of course, the pressing issue is helping people cope with huge energy price rises. On that, she says she understands the urgency.
I will take action this week to deal with energy bills and to secure our future energy supply.
But she repeated her commitment to cutting taxes as a way of driving economic growth. Truss started the day flying to Scotland, where she met Queen Elizabeth at her Balmoral estate. She was formally appointed after the monarch received the outgoing Prime Minister's resignation. Before he flew north, Boris Johnson and his wife Carrie said goodbye to staff at 10 Downing Street. It was partly the partying here that led to so many of his own MPs turning against him. His departing speech didn't reference any COVID rule breaking, but rules did come up when he talked about the end of his premiership.
The baton will be handed over in what has unexpectedly turned out to be a relay race. They changed the rules halfway through, but never mind that now.
Johnson did promise to support Liz Truss every step of the way, urging his party to unite after a damaging leadership contest. Apart from telling supporters what his government had achieved, Johnson did briefly mention the financial stress facing millions of households. The sunlit uplands of the British economy are currently shrouded in fog, and the calls on the new Prime Minister to offer some glimmers of light are getting louder.
You need to look at the world as it is rather than the world that you'd like it to be, and then you need to respond. And the big message for me is trickle-down economics does not work. The last 15 years has shown us that, because the economy has grown at points, the cake has got bigger, but what's happened is that those at the top have taken more and the majority of people have not benefited.
Liz Truss will want to offer her own vision of Britain as it faces economic and existential crises. But she must also show the public she's able to be pragmatic and take steps to stop millions of people slipping into poverty. The challenge is immense. Nadeem Barber, Al Jazeera, London.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. That is all for this edition of Channel 2's Headline News Update. Tune in on Thursday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.